For the holidays, we can celebrate by decorating gingerbread houses, and we can also paint them. So I'm going to paint this gingerbread house and you can follow along. So this gingerbread house is pretty simple. We've got our brown, so you can use whatever kind of brown you have in the set that you have at home, or I'm using tiki with a little bit of this kind of black in here to create a brown. And so I'm going to start, you have to be a little careful, these are small. I'm painting this in a 4x6 format, so if you've got the larger version, might be a little bit easier to get around the lights. And you see I've got a lot of water pooling up there. I didn't mean to have so much water, and if you feel like that's kind of hard to have a big bubble in your paper till it evaporates, you can just take your paper towel and just lightly siphon some of that water away, and that'll just help you to not get your hand in it. I just added more water to there, and that's okay. I'll just try to be careful, and I'm moving kind of quick on this video so that you can get right to painting your picture. Basically, the idea is you can see me just kind of loosely going around these little dots, and they're not perfect the way I went around them, so don't get frustrated, and you can go right over them. They'll still add texture. If you want to add something else over it, and the color will show over the brown, then go for it. So you can see I'm just kind of moving my brush a little bit around those dots. And it's okay if the brown is a little bit heavier in pigment in some areas and lighter in another. That would look exactly like gingerbread does, because it does kind of, if you're baking gingerbread, it may be a little inconsistent on the way it comes out. And around the edges, it's going to look a little bit darker brown typically. So whether you're doing this because you're a kid or a kid at heart, maybe you're doing this as a family and everyone gets to decorate their gingerbread house however they want, which means you could make this house neon colors if you've got those kinds of paints, or pink or purple or blue. It does not have to be gingerbread color, because after all, we're pretending, and we can use icing to change the color from the gingerbread color. Okay, so the next main thing is just to see that there's gingerbread back behind here, because this is white icing to make the roof. And of course you can do your own color. Our family oftentimes uses licorice ropes to make these little designs, so those will be red. So you can make them whatever color you would like, whether it's icing or candy that you would be using in real life. So we also have kind of a little bit of a darker brown here to say, well, this is our windowsill, and hopefully the paint over here is dark enough to not show through or not to bleed in there if it's dry enough. And I'm just taking the little point of this brush and working it into these areas. If you don't have a fine tip brush, that may be kind of hard, and I apologize because it might be a bit frustrating. So if you want to buy them on my website, or go to an art supply store and see what you can find. I like water brushes. You could use a traditional brush, but it would need to be a little bit smaller. Okay, so add a little shadow right there. On my roof, I'm going to get a little bit of black, or you can use a blue and an orange to kind of mix up a gray. And I'm actually going to take a little bit of a light blue to just, that's a lot of pigment, so I'm going to just kind of come along here very faintly and cast kind of a shadow here. And I'll do that on the snow top over here behind the chimney. This is where the icing has 2 layers, I think, so we'll kind of get some of that, maybe a little bit more blue. And if I have too much, I can either spread it around or pull it off with my brush into my paper towel, like that. Or just press my paper towel down like I just showed you. I had a little bit of brown in my brush. I actually kind of like how that looks. And now I'll just pull a little bit of that away. It gives it a nice little texture. Sometimes there are really happy little accidents. I'm going to use a little bit of this blue and pretend like I have windows. So if this were a candy house, I'd either have to use candy for this or some light blue icing. And we forgot, or I forgot, to paint this chimney. And I'm going to make the bricks in the gingerbread color. You could do the whole thing brown and then add a layer of red on top if you wanted to as well. Do the details on my door. You can always get a pencil and draw other things around it too. So if you want to put a Christmas tree in there or more candy on it before you get started, that can be a lot of fun too. Let's get like kind of a shadow here. We really want it to look like snow. Our icing is snow. So, and then you can add some kind of metallic paint on it afterward too if you want to make it look more shiny. Now I'm going to do the wreath. I think my paint is dry enough, and these are like peppermints. Just picking every other stripe here. It's kind of bitty, hard to see. These look like little dollops of holly icing. And same with this, try not to get it into the red. I'm just going to add a little bit of detail here. And you can put a little bit of shadow around if you want to make it a little bit more detailed. I wouldn't go around everything. Just to make it pop. And you can just leave these little dots white, or you can add some color to them, like add a little bit of red, like their candy. Or in my original example, I just left it white, but I wanted to show you what it could look like if you add a little bit of red. And you could do the same thing for the roof with candy, or you could make it just after you finish this gingerbread house, you can always add metallic paint, and especially this pearl color here, you can kind of see it shimmering. I painted this after it was dry, and you can see this is going to shimmer as if it's snow. So you can add shimmer to your heart's content. It just adds a lot of sparkle for the holidays.